Whips like this one were once the preserve of workers on American cattle ranches. Today they're also sought by collectors or used by enthusiasts who take part in whip-cracking competitions. Yes, they do exist. There are even entertainers who use their whips to perform tricks. The best whips are made of kangaroo leather because it's 10 times stronger than cowhide of equal thickness. Modern whips have 4 sections: the handle, the thong or lash, which is the main body of the whip, the fall, a strip of leather at the end, and the cracker, the thin string which amplifies the sound of the crack. After carefully selecting the hide to be used for the specific whip, they begin by trimming away the ragged edges with a sharp knife. This leaves a smooth edge with which to work. They now begin cutting out all the whip's leather components. Most of these are strands, which they will later braid together. The main part of the whip is made from 2 layers of braiding called plaited bellies. The 2 plaited bellies are separated by the bolster, a solid piece of leather which surrounds the internal layer. An additional layer of braiding, called the overlay, goes over the top. They cut the strands for the bellies and overlay by hand, using a tapering cutter that's specially designed for whip making. The finished overlay and bellies have a flat portion at the top called the yoke, the strands tapering continuously along their entire length. They stretch each strand as much as possible to ensure the braid will be tight and uniform. Then they resize each strand and bevel the edges. This helps the strands fit against each other and creates a smoother braid. Then, using a tool called a hand splitter, they shave each strand to a uniform thickness. This prevents lumps in the taper of the finished whip. Next, they take a waxed cord and tightly bind a tapered strip of leather around a handle foundation. The leather strip, called the core, will extend into the center of the thong. They attach the first belly yoke over the handle and core, then braid the strands to begin forming the thong. This compresses the core into a solid center. Over the braided first belly, they wrap the first bolster, then attach and braid the second belly. Over that, they wrap the second bolster, each layer compressing the ones underneath. Then they add the final layer, the overlay. First, they lubricate the strands with an animal fat-based soap. This enables a tighter braid, and the animal fat also conditions the leather. This particular whip has a 12-strand overlay, but more intricate overlays can have as many as 72 strands, forming complex patterns. While braiding, it's critical to position and align the inner layers exactly, and make sure the strands are pulled tight. When the thong reaches the finished length, they feed the end of the braiding through a slit in the next part of the whip, the fall. They tie the remaining strands in sequence around the fall, using a half-hitch knot. Then they pull the fall into place and trim the loose strands. This creates a secure connection between these 2 sections of the whip. Now they roll the thong between a hard surface and a block of marble. This solidifies the braiding and rounds out its overall shape. Then they tie the cracker onto the tip of the fall. The cracker or popper used to be made from horsehair. Nowadays, whip makers are more likely to use nylon string. Next, they wrap leather to build the knot foundation at the base of the handle. For longer and thicker whips, the knot foundation contains a piece of lead for balance. They fold the yoke from the overlay over the foundation. Then, with a separate strand of leather, they cover the foundation with what's known as a Turk's head knot. After trimming the knot strands, they shape the knot with a soft mallet. Then, more rolling. Finally, they apply a coat of natural shellac to the entire whip. This protects the materials and produces a pleasing sheen. No whip leaves the shop without a round of hands-on testing to make absolutely sure it's all it's cracked up to be. Go on, whip crack away, son. Mind your ears. Oh.